Hello everybody and welcome back to the hobby room and welcome to the first video of a little companion series to the DT-01, 02, 03 project that I am currently building on my main RC channel over here. Here we got a rising fighter, and chassis and body wise it has absolutely nothing to do with a DT-01, 02 or 03 buggy. This is essentially a Grasshopper 2 Super Hornet chassis with a modified Super Hornet body attached to it. I will get back to what it actually has to do with a DT buggy in just a moment. But as some of you probably know, it has something to do with the rear. So here we got the finished gearboxes of the project, of the builds. This is a DT-01 gearbox from a Mad Bull, and this is the DT-02 gearbox and rear suspension system from a Sand Viper. Again, you can watch those builds up close on my main RC channel if you want to see the insides and see the process building these gearboxes. For now I will concentrate on the differences between these two and the similarities, and also briefly return to the DT-01 for the last part of this video. So this companion series is only for those really interested in the differences and similarities of the history behind the DT-01, 02, 03 buggies. Here we got the DT-01 Mad Bull gearbox, which is the exact same you will find in the Rookie Rabbit or Fighter Buggy RX or the Mad Fighter. It's essentially a beefed up version of the Grasshopper and especially the Hornet gearbox. I don't think it's that much better, but it's certainly bigger, and it got the closed differential with the metal gears opposed to the Hornet, which got the plastic and the open differential gears. I think both of them are sturdy and can handle brushless systems, but this is just a bit bigger, and maybe it can provide a wider stance for your buggy. So it's a very generic looking DT-01 gearbox that I built. It has the stock silver can 27 turn Mabuchi motor here, and it even has the stock gearing with the 17 tooth pinion. I did change it for a steel pinion, but it will run with the exact same gear ratio. And it got the ball bearings, which as I've mentioned earlier, which hardly can be considered as an upgrade, but just as an essential requirement. So essentially we are looking at a Hornet upgraded, beefed up Hornet gearbox. And the funny thing about this gearbox is that it was actually released in the RTR Rookie Rabbit in 1991. I think it's a very rare model. It was quickly abandoned again by Tamiya. But in 1993 they actually made the Super Hornet 2 years after this one, and for the Super Hornet, as you may know, they reused the Hornet gearbox. So, funny story, it was abandoned as quickly as it was made, and then it reappeared in 1996 with the Fighter Buggy RX and the 3 buggies, DT-01 buggies, that are known today as the DT-01 series. And here we got the DT-02 Sand Viper gearbox and rear suspension system. I will get back to the similarities and difference in just a moment, but this is a very standard looking sand wiper. The only thing that has been added is the brushless motor and the 19-tooth pinion, which will definitely provide it with some speed compared to the stock one. Now this is a overkill system. This is an 8T brushless system, and together with the 19-tooth pinion, this one will go way too fast for the ordinary fun runs. So this is the top of the line, I think only surpassed by the MS edition, which you also can watch in my other channel. But it got the semi turnbuckles, the adjustable upper arms, and the metal dog bone here, and the wheel axle aluminium, and the diff outdrives, diff cups here also metal, which makes it very, also of course it comes with full ball bearings, which makes it very different to the first DT-02, the Super Fighter, but I will return to that too in just maybe tomorrow in another video. Looking at them side by side, they look very different, but it's actually pretty much the same system, the same two-wheel drive buggy system in both of them. So here we got some gears from a DT-02, which I also will return to later in this companion series. But basically we got the DT-01 here. This is a DT-02 system. I don't think they are compatible with each other, but they are basically employing the same system. We got the gear differential attached to a counter gear here, and then we got the spur gear here attached to the pinion gear. So basically the same setup here as the DT-02, which just is kind of mirrored around. So here we got the differential closest to the chassis and the counter gear, and then the spur gear attached to the pinion gear here. Exactly the same system, just what do you call it, in mirror. So we got the motor here and the drive system here, the gears, and then we got the motor here and the drive system going backwards out from the buggy. So the main difference, I think the gear ratio is exactly the same, and you can employ the same 0.8 mod pinions in the DT-01 and the DT-02 and 03s. So basically these are exactly the same. I will get back to the difference between a DT-03 and an 02 in tomorrow's video. The main difference is of course that this employs a rigid rolling rear axle system, just like the Grasshopper, not the Grasshopper but the Hornet, where you can attach this and this can move up, and you attach the springs or the shocks here and this can move up. It's of course, as you know, a malfunctional system, but it definitely is a fun ride with these Hopper Hornet systems. So here you got a full double modern standard double wishbone suspension with the dog bones and everything. But essentially, if you cut this off, I know Ampro Engineering has done it with a Hornet, you could attach a double wishbone suspension system to this, and you will pretty much have, yeah, almost the same system. Of course, this is firmly attached to the chassis with these screws, where this is just held together with this rear axle pin and moving up and down here and moving up and down here. But essentially this is a double wishbone remake of the Hornet and Grasshopper and DT-01 gearboxes. the 02 and 03 gearboxes. So what has all this got to do with the Rising Fighter? As said, this is a very strange hybrid buggy released in 2008 with the Grasshopper 2 chassis and the modified Super Hornet body. Essentially it's a Super Hornet body, and where you cut the rear wing off. But the main difference is actually here. So the Rising Fighter is actually using the DT-01 gearbox. Here we got some modifications I've made with the AMPRO rear brace and also an AMPRO transmission brace at the very bottom. I am also looking forward trying out the DT-01 chassis, because where AMPRO engineering was inspired by the Super Hornet with this brace, the transmission brace here was actually inspired by the DT-01, which should have a similar chassis brace attached here, which essentially stop the clacking noise and upwards motion of the whole gearbox, as some of you may know. Now, it's not the ideal system. I think Shin RC's idea with a fishing line attached to the chassis and attached to the gearbox is the best running solution. But for me, visual wise, if you do not want a buggy with fishing lines, these are the way to go. So AMPRO makes these for both the Grasshopper and, no, not the Grasshopper, but the Hornet, the Super Hornet, and the Lumps boxers. And the DT-01 actually should have its own brace pre-built or stock, so you don't have to do any modifications to it. So it's the last of the hoppers systems, and I'm looking very much forward trying it out. Now, the natural way to go with this video would of course be to compare the DT-01 and Rising Fighter gearbox to the Grasshoppers and Hornets, but then this video would go on forever, and I actually got a little build project for this weekend. So I better end this now, and I'll see you tomorrow for a little DT-02 and 03 talk and build.